You have a question that can't be answered. What happens when you die? Well, according to this book, this is what God tells us. Well, why did these, why is my sister sick? Well, according to this book, here's the answer. Where did the earth come from? It was made in 6 days, and then God rested. What about dinosaurs? We're not going to talk about that. And then as more science comes about, a lot of the things that people learn in religion just kind of don't make sense anymore.
Again, this is another common complaint that's brought up from the atheist community. However, I will say it's a little bit of an older complaint. It's kind of expired, and I think the reason is because agnostic and even some atheist scientists themselves have said that science is not a tool for the metaphysical. It's not here to talk about what happens after death. It's not here to talk about the consciousness. It's not here to talk about the history of language. It's not here to talk about proving love, right? At least not chemically. So science is a limited and restricted tool. It is a beautiful tool. It is one of the most beautiful tools, but it is not, and there's many sciences that we should be aware of, but it is not a tool whatsoever to be used for the metaphysical. In fact, it is limited. When we go home to our families, we don't say, I'm going to scientifically prove that you love me and I love you. We don't use science in our day-to-day judgments every single time. So there are other tools that we use, like consciousness, like history, right? Like faith, like even sometimes logic and philosophy that are not necessarily rooted in science. There's one topic I would recommend people look up, which is the philosophy of science, And I think Darwinian Delusions does a good job in dismantling what science itself says about science and what scientists say themselves about science. A lot of the questions that were just raised, they still have not been answered about science, right? Very important to note. And science is still evolving. It will always be evolving because that is the nature of science. Not everything in science is absolutely, in the most objective sense, conclusive. And that's one of the beauties of science.
Bill Maher, proud, loud atheist, does shows flying around in a private jet. This is a man who doesn't believe.
Yeah.
But yet the people that believe are suffering. The people that believe are dying in water.
I think this one's hopefully easier to debunk, and I think that Aries, Spears, or anyone else would be able to debunk this themselves. So you're using statistics, you're using half-truths that and trying to kind of apply them generally across the board. One atheist versus a group of tragedies. The first problem with this is obviously you handpicked these people in these examples, and someone could easily turn around and say, what about the irreligious celebrities, the liberal celebrities, the celebrities who just were believed in faith by name, right, by culture, who ended up killing themselves, who committed suicide, who face severe issues, severe problems. They have all the material wealth in the world, but they're not happy, right? And I think the taking of their life is more proof than anything. The other thing is, which group? Tragedy hits everybody. Bill Maher or whoever, or Aries Spears. Which group deals better with tragedy? What it does to the brain, what it does to the body, how it affects the soul. The other thing to look at is material success the only type of success? So why are we measuring Bill Maher based on his material assets? Is he happy? How do we measure that happiness? Most studies conclude that deeply committed religious people are happier, less stressed, more charitable, more actively volunteer in their communities, and they're more successful than the irreligious. Big Think is one study I came across recently, but there's plenty of others.